developers. Welcome back to JavaScript for Beginners. In this episode, we are moving into the modern age of JavaScript, covering ES6 features and asynchronous programming. So let's get going. So as you can see, I will set up my environment over here. So I will create a new HTML file called ep6.html, and then I will create a boilerplate. And inside that, I will say ES6 and beyond. So here also I will say ES6 and beyond just to check if it's working or not. And that's it. Now let's get a script tag. Console.log. Hello. Yellow. Okay. Now I will save. I will fire up the live server. So yeah, it's working. And then I will confirm if the console is also loading. Okay, so yeah, it's loading. All right, so let's get into the topic. So ES6, it's a short form for ECMAScript 2015. So it introduced a lot of new features to JavaScript. So as you have known, like there are different ways to declare a variable, right? So one of them are let, const, and then this was replacing this like introduced instead of var. So we used to use var, and then now by ES6, JavaScript community has decided to only use let and const. So const will only use for constant variables, and let will be only used for like value that can be changed. So basically, let x equal to 10, and then if you do console.log, you get the value. And then if you do const y equal to 5, and then let's say you console.log, you get the value. So both of them are here. The only issue with const is that you can't change the value later on. So if you do that, it's going to throw you out an error saying that assignment to a constant variable. As for x, we can change the value to 20, and then we will see the output as 20. All right. So that's it for the variable declaration. That's part of ES6. And then you also have seen arrow functions. So what arrow functions is that, let's say you have a function to be called, let's say const greeting equal to, arrow function has a normal syntax with the brackets opening, and then this is the arrow symbol equal to and the angle bracket closing. So once you have that, this is the pure basic syntax of the total arrow function. So if you see this particular method, if you see this particular syntax, then you can understand that it's an arrow function. So inside arrow function, they handle this keyword a little bit different. So we will get into that in the advanced JavaScript sessions. So if you have two variables, so like let's say instead of const greeting, we can go ahead and then do const addition, and then it will accept two variables, a and b, and then we can return the value as a plus b. And then if you do console.log addition of 5 comma 3, hopefully you will get 8. So yeah, that's the value. So as you can see, arrow function also we have used in the previous episode, I guess, and then now I'm just like again giving you an overview of what the arrow function looks like. And then one of the most important thing that was introduced in JavaScript is the template strings. So remember when we had to type in a string to join, like in between, if you want to add a variable in between a string, let's say you have a string called const hello equal to I am, and then I want to say x, and then I will add again years old, and then if you want to add another variable, say, and this is taking too long, and then if you want to add another variable y, and then you have to end the string. So as you can see, this is kind of hard to read, right? So if you do console.log, hello, you get the value. I'm 20 years old and this is taking too long, 5. So instead of this particular scenario, we can use template strings. It's nothing basically. So if you want to have, let's say, my string equal to, for template string, you only have basically to follow two like syntax. One is the backticks. So this can be found right next to the like right before the number 1 in the keyboard, and these are called backticks. And then inside the backticks you can type in the normal keys, like normal like text, as like normally you would do. And then if you want to include a variable, you just have to use that variable inside this particular syntax, dollar, and then curly bracket opening and then curly bracket closing. And inside that you can use the variable, and then you can use the same thing. And this is not taking too long. And then you can say $5, I mean $y. That's it. So once you save it, and then you have to console.log it. Console.log my string. So as you can see, this is much more readable compared to this one, and it's easier to maintain as well. If you have like more than like let's say 10 variables to be handled in a single string, this can be easily become cumbersome. And then this one, you can easily read it, and then you can also like do it in multiple lines. So JavaScript will understand that like whatever it comes in between the backticks, it will understand that okay, you are trying to use template literals. So that's the power of template literals. And then we are going to be using, like as a developer, me and you are like definitely going to using this way too often than you would think. And the next one is that destructuring. So what destructuring is, let's say you have an array, right? So you have an array of 2 elements. Let x equal to 5 and 10. And then later on, if you want to access these two variables, I mean these two values into different variable names, then what normally you would do is let a equal to x of 0, and then let b equal to x of 1, correct? So this is giving an error because x is already being used. Okay, so we will change it to array, and then we will change this value to array as well. All right, so 0 and 1, and then if you print array comma a comma b, you will get the value. The first value is the array, and then the second a value is 5, and then the b value is 10. So if let's say if you have like 4 and 5 as well, I mean 4 and 50 as well inside, then you have to repeat the steps again, right? Let's see equal to and so on and so forth. So instead of that, JavaScript gives a handy tool called destructuring, in which you can directly use this way. So let uvwx equal to x already has been used, so we'll go with this, and then you will say the array, and hopefully it works. Let's see, console.log uvwz. Yes, it's working. So that's it. You have an array, and then you are destructuring it into 4 different variables. So this is the destructuring operator that you can use. This not only works for arrays, but it will also work for objects as well. So we have learned about objects in the previous episode. So if you have not x and y, why am I using x and y too much? Let's say df, and then oh, by the way, it's not best practice to use like random letters in your as your keyword name. Instead of that, you should definitely use like meaningful names for the keywords, so that in the future also you can understand it like when you read through the code. So never use these kind of names. All right, so with that said, let df, and then you have a string str str hello, and then value again. Now if you access the console.log d and f, as you can see, oh, it's not working. Wait. Oh yeah. So if I do str over here, wait. Oh yeah, these names should be correct. You are actually accessing it the same name from the object. So it should be D and then F. Then only it will understand where to actually look for. Yeah. So this is how the object destructuring works, and this is the array destructuring. All right. Last but not least, like we have promises and async await syntax. So promises is kind of like it's a huge topic in itself. I will just give you a basic example of it. It's actually very hard to explain it in a single, I mean, in such a short period of a short amount of time. So what promises is that, let's say you have a call, like you're calling an API and then you are getting the data from another website, and then that call is actually taking, let's say, X amount of time. It's a 10 seconds of time. So until that time, you want that particular data to be in your variable, then only you can use it for other parts. So otherwise you are kind of stuck. But JavaScript works in a way that even if your call has been gone, it won't wait for you to complete for that particular call. It will execute the remaining sections. So let's say you have a API call, right? So you have const API call URL, API URL equal to, you're calling HTTPS and then www.google.com. So you're calling this particular API URL. For now, I'm not calling it. I'm just assuming you just have to assume that you're calling this API URL, and then this will take an X amount of time. So 10 seconds of time. Then once you have the data, like once you have the data from that particular API URL, you have, then only you can go to the next line. So you have another function, if API URL, if API URL is there, then only you can execute a certain function. Let's say you are going to console log hello, I have API URL. So in JavaScript case, if this particular URL is taking like more than 10 seconds, like the call has been made and JavaScript immediately go through this particular code. So this code will break at that time because like you don't have that information that you're looking for. So in order to avoid that, JavaScript introduced a promise concept, which will say that, okay, this particular API URL call will return a promise to me saying that, okay, I am promising you that I will get the data, even if it's a error data or the actual data. So in promise, you have two sets of values. One is so the promise, how to define a promise is simple. Like you just use the new keyword. We have used new keyword in prototype inheritance. Now we will use a same new keyword over here, new promise, and then promise will take two values. One is resolve, the other one is reject. So resolve and reject are basically the name states. So resolve will be called once the API call is successful, and reject will be called if the API if the API call is failing. So let's say you have you like for this particular code sake, I will use this a timeout function, and it will like sleep for 10 seconds, and then it will give the result as success. Promise resolved, and then so this is in nanoseconds. I mean this is in milliseconds, and it will sleep for 10 seconds. So once this is successful, then only then you will follow with the then keyword. Then you will take that particular keyword that will take a function that will take a parameter, as message, and then you can say console.log message, right? So this is not 10 seconds, this is actually 1 second. So let's increase it to 3 seconds. And then if you do that, like, look at it. If you once at the moment you save, it will sleep for 3 seconds, and then you are getting promise result. So instead of resolving it, we can also reject it. So let's say I'm gonna set timeout reject. Promise rejected because of add URL. All right, then this won't be working in the then section, because then will only execute if the promise has been resolved. If the promise has been rejected, then you have another you have to use another keyword called catch in the result part of promise, and then there you use like what is the reason. Basically there will also you will get a message saying that okay, and then I'm gonna do whatever I want with that particular message. For now I will just console log it. So as you can see, it immediately came. Okay, I forgot to put the time. So this will be throwing out an error after 2 seconds. So yeah, after 2 seconds it's throwing out an error. So you can have both of them, solve and reject, but based on the scenario. Let's say in some case, if it's successful, then you can resolve, and then if it's not successful, then you can reject. So this is the concept of promise. So promise is just saying that okay, I will come back with the result no matter what, even if it's like resolved or rejected. So if it's a resolved case, then you use the then keyword to catch it, and if it's a rejected keyword, then you can use the catch keyword to use it. So that's about the promise section. And then async await is basically a simpler form of using promises. So let's say you have a function. Okay, say you have a function called function main, right? And inside the main function, you are saying that okay, I have a message, and then I am gonna wait for a promise to come back. Await promise, same thing, resolve comma reject, and then inside that I'm gonna say set timeout, and then I'm gonna use another type of function and say that resolve this particular promise after 2 seconds, right? So you have it, and then you're gonna console log that okay, I am like what's the output of that particular message. So this will throw out an error, because like if you are using await keyword in a function, then you have to use the async keyword before the function itself. Now when you call that particular function main, so if you look at this has to wait for 2 seconds, then only you will get the message. So in normal scenario, this will never wait for the message to come back. It will directly come back, and then this will say that okay, message is empty. But in this case, it will wait for 2 seconds, and then only the console log message will print. So as you can see, it's waiting, and then yeah, promise resolved. That's from the first promise, and this one is from the second. Oh, so this is the second promise we have seen. Okay, I will say that this is from promise. This is from async await. Okay, if you look at it, the async await will be first, and then the promise will be second. So the program is actually waiting for this particular piece of code to complete, and then only it's printing the console log message part. Same here. So this is in the first of the particular code, first in the stack, but still it's being printed after the promise has been resolved or rejected. So this came first and this came second. So in normal scenarios, this won't be possible. So it will be coming in the same order that has been executed. So in normal scenario, this will be executed first, and then it will return the value immediately. and then the second one will be immediately returned. But that can be avoided by using this particular like methods. You can use promises, and then you can also use async await as well. So yeah, and that's just scratching the surface of modern JavaScript. So we have a huge amount of other things that has been released in ES6. We will get into all those features like in the advanced sections. So in the next episode, we will go more into DOM manipulation, as like this is part of the JavaScript fundamentals section. So we will learn how to manipulate the DOM, and we will learn what are the different types of manipulation mechanisms we can use to control our HTML elements itself. As always, if you have any questions, so please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Keep learning, keep coding, and I'll see you next time.